What I'm about to tell you is already happening, and most people have absolutely no idea how bad it's about to get for their wallet. While you've been going about your normal week, paying bills, filling up your tank, buying groceries, a stretch of water the size of a highway just got shut down, and that one event is about to touch every single dollar you earn, spend, and save. Oil just crossed $100 a barrel. Iran's military is publicly on record calling for $200. The Strait of Hormuz, which carries 20% of the entire world's oil, is not being threatened right now. It is actually closed. Ships are being attacked as we speak. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that means for your money. And the 3 moves I would personally make starting tonight. Okay, let me break this down properly, because the news is giving you the explosions and the politics, but nobody is sitting down and connecting this directly to your actual financial life. That's what we're going to do right now. So here's the geography that matters, and I want you to picture this clearly. The Persian Gulf. Think of it like a bottle of water. All the oil from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, Kuwait, everything has to squeeze through the neck of that bottle to reach the rest of the world. That neck is called the Strait of Hormuz. It is one of the narrowest, most critical choke points on the entire planet. Iran sits right on the edge of it. Now here is where your money enters the conversation. Starting March 4th of this year, Iranian forces didn't just threaten the strait, they declared it closed. The UK Maritime Trade Operations Center has already reported over a dozen attacks on ships attempting to pass through. This is not a headline from a war movie. This is happening right now, today, in real time. And the market is already responding. Oil crossed $100 a barrel this week. Brent crude closed at $103. WTI, which is what drives your gas prices here domestically, settled at $98.71 and is climbing. Since January of this year alone, oil prices are already up 50%. But what really should stop you in your tracks is what Iran's own military said publicly. Their exact words, not my words, were, "You will not be able to artificially lower the price of oil. Expect oil at $200 per barrel." $200. And here is why that number should terrify any household trying to manage a budget right now. Because the last time oil even approached those levels, everyday Americans felt it in every single corner of their financial life. Not just at the pump. Everywhere. This is not a drill. This is not speculation. The dominoes are already falling. The only question left is whether your finances are in the way when they land. Let me give you real numbers, not projections, real ones. WTI crude oil at the start of 2025 was sitting at $57 a barrel. Right now, it's pushing $100. That is a 109% increase in price in roughly 1 year. 109%. And the Strait of Hormuz just closed. We haven't even seen the full impact yet. The market is pricing in what it knows right now. When the full supply disruption starts flowing through the system over the next 30 to 60 days, and it will, analysts aren't talking about $120 anymore. Iran's military is publicly calling $200. That is their stated target. So what does that mean at the pump? Every $10 increase in oil prices adds roughly 25 cents per gallon at the pump. You do that math from $100 to $200, and you're looking at an additional $2.50 per gallon on top of whatever you're paying today. If you're currently paying $3.80, and in most cities you're paying more, you could be looking at $6, $6.50, maybe $7 a gallon before this peaks. If you drive 1,000 miles a month at average fuel economy, which is a pretty standard number for a working adult, your monthly gas cost roughly doubles, maybe more. But the number you can see at the pump is actually the smallest part of the problem. The number you can't see is inside every product that gets delivered to a store near you, every grocery item that rode a truck, every medication shipped from a warehouse, every piece of clothing, electronics, household goods, Anything that moved through a supply chain gets repriced when diesel spikes. Analysts tracking this are already projecting an additional $300 to $500 per month in combined household cost pressure if oil sustains above $120. That is a real number that is going to hit real families in the next 60 to 90 days, and your paycheck is not going to move to match it. Now I already know what some of you are thinking. Okay, but can't the government just release oil reserves like they did last time? Can't the Fed step in? Let me explain exactly why this time is structurally different. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the U.S. government's emergency oil stash, was already drawn down to its lowest level since 1983 during the last price spike. They used that card. It bought Americans maybe 18 cents a gallon for a few months. And then prices went right back up. The reserve has been slowly refilling, but it is nowhere near the buffer it used to be. Playing that card against a $200 oil target is like bringing a water gun to a wildfire. And the Federal Reserve is caught in a trap right now. If inflation spikes hard because of oil, and it will, they cannot cut rates to ease the economic pressure. Cutting rates while inflation is rising is a textbook policy mistake that makes everything worse longer term. But if they raise rates again to fight inflation, you already know what happens. Mortgage rates climb, credit card rates go up, auto loans get more expensive, businesses pull back on hiring. There is no clean move on the board for Washington right now. The geopolitical situation has boxed them in on both sides. And that means I want you to really sit with this. The only person who can actually protect your financial position right now is you, not your bank, not the government, not the Fed, you. So let's talk about how. Move number 1, kill your variable rate exposure before the Fed is forced to act. If you are carrying any balance on a variable rate right now, a credit card balance, a home equity line of credit, an adjustable rate mortgage, this is your most urgent financial task. Not next month, this week. Here is the sequence that is about to play out. Oil stays elevated or climbs. Inflation picks back up because energy feeds into the price of almost everything. The Fed gets forced to hold rates higher for longer, or worse, raise them again. And when that happens, every variable rate you have adjusts upward automatically. You could be sitting 90 days from now with minimum payments that are $150 to $300 higher per month. And you won't have spent a single dollar more. The rate just moved. The move is call your lenders this week. Ask specifically about fixed rate conversion options. Look at balance transfer cards with 0% promotional periods to lock in the breathing room. This is not glamorous advice, but it is the kind of advice that separates people who weather this from people who get buried by it. Move number 2, build what I call a war buffer, not an emergency fund. I know the phrase emergency fund makes your eyes glaze over, so I'm going to say it differently. I want you to build a 60-day buffer specifically for gas and groceries. Those 2 categories, nothing else. Here is how you calculate it. Take exactly what you spent on gas and groceries last month. Add 40% to that number. That is your war buffer target, because 40% is conservatively what those 2 categories could increase if oil sustains above $120 for a full quarter. You are not saving for a vague rainy day. You are pre-funding a specific price increase that the data is already pointing toward. That is a completely different psychological frame, and it makes it much easier to actually do. Park that buffer in a high-yield savings account. Right now, you can still find 4.5% to 5% APY without much hunting, so your buffer earns while it sits. You are not losing money to inflation while you wait. You are literally getting paid to be prepared. Move number 3, reposition strategically. Do not panic sell. This is the one I need you to hear most carefully, because panic is about to become the most expensive financial decision millions of people make. Markets hate uncertainty. War is pure uncertainty. So the next few weeks are going to be volatile. You are going to open your investment app and you are going to feel a very specific anxiety in your chest. I know that feeling. Everyone who invests knows that feeling. But here is what 50 years of data on geopolitical oil shocks tells us clearly. The people who panic sell loyalties, their losses permanently. They turn a temporary paper drop into a permanent real loss. And then they miss the recovery. What historically performs during oil price spikes is not a secret. Energy sector stocks move with oil prices. They have done this in every major Middle East conflict since 1973. Commodities like gold move upward when dollar confidence gets shaky, and dollar confidence always takes a hit during a sustained oil disruption. I am not telling you where to put your money. I am telling you to stop being passive about your positioning right now. Talk to a financial advisor this week. Not in a month, this week. Ask them specifically about your exposure to oil price inflation. Ask about energy sector rebalancing. Ask what a $150 or $200 oil scenario does to your current portfolio. The people who come out of a financial crisis in better shape than they went in are almost never the smartest people in the room. They are almost always just the most prepared. I want to leave you with something real before you close this video. Everything I just walked you through, the $100 oil, the Strait of Hormuz being closed, the $200 target, the supply chain pressure. None of that is speculation. Those are documented facts happening right now in March 2026. The question was never whether this war would affect your money. It already is. The only question is whether you are going to be reactive when the full impact hits your household, or whether you are going to be the person who saw it coming and moved early. 3 moves: lock your variable rates, build your war buffer, reposition, don't panic. That is it. That is the whole game right now. And if this gave you something that the headlines weren't giving you, something you can actually use, hit subscribe. Because the next video I am dropping is going to cover exactly what happens to the U.S. housing market if this war stretches through the second half of 2026. Mortgage rates, home values, rental prices, all of it. And trust me when I tell you that one is going to affect a lot of people who currently think they are safe. I will see you there.